the whole chapter. I mean, we could skip to the end and say where he says, Lazarus, come out, but you really don't, you won't comprehend what's going on here fully or appreciate what's going on here unless you read those chapters. So we're just going to start with verse 1 and work our way through and unpack things as we go. And, of course, any comments are welcome. So let's begin with verse 1. Now, a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and his sister Martha. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, and whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sister sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, this illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Okay, so immediately the chapter opens up with this crisis, okay, that has hit this family. Lazarus is very ill. Now, again, Jesus is at least a day away traveling, perhaps a day and a half or 2 days. And so there's a message being sent to him. It's going to take that long to get there, all right? And we're going to see that in a few minutes that Jesus intentionally waits 2 days. And so this sentence here at the end, this illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. He says that, and I think that the messenger's still there. And so this messenger is going to make his way back to Mary and Martha, okay? And it may be that Lazarus has already passed by the time he gets back there, all right? This word for illness here is a progressive illness. This is something that's happening very rapidly. They're seeing Lazarus decline. It's not a mild illness that all of a sudden he's really sick. They know that he is progressively getting worse by the hour. Okay, that's the word used here for illness. It's something that's he's in critical condition already. And so by the time if there is a messenger bringing a message back to Mary and Martha, and they're saying this is what Jesus is telling them, this illness does not lead to death, how do you think that made them feel if perhaps Lazarus has already passed away? Which could have been the case, because we know Lazarus had already been in the grave for 4 days by the time Jesus gets there. We're gonna get to all that, but I'm kind of laying it out for you there, because he makes this statement, and it made me think, what is Mary and Martha thinking if Lazarus has already passed when he hears this, when they hear this from Jesus? Huh? Could have put a little bit of doubt in their mind, yeah. And it is for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it. You know, I'm not sure they could even begin to understand what that means at this point. All right. Any other comments or questions on that? Yeah, Dean. Yeah. Yeah. So if he's really ill, right, on his deathbed, so to speak, a day to 2 days to get there, gives the message to Jesus, a day to 2 days to get back. Jesus, and we know, waits 2 days to come, so he's going to have at least 4 days of travel time. So it's very possible that, I think very likely, that Lazarus has passed, by the time that a messenger could even get back to them. Okay, something to think about. We don't know that for sure, but it seems to make sense. Yeah, Owen? Say that again. Right. We tend to focus on the physical death, right? And maybe Mary and Martha made that leap to think that he's talking about spiritual, but I'm sure that they had their doubts here. This is just something else that probably was piled on to them emotionally. And then this reaction is not uncommon. I mean, he also had this reaction in some of his other miracles, where he said, last week, the blind man, when they asked him who sinned, this man or his parents, and Jesus, what was his response? Neither He is here for the glorification of God so that I can work this miracle here, okay? And so there's some similarity there as well. Okay, verse 5. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sisters and Lazarus, so when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. That almost seems like a contradiction when you read it, doesn't it? It affirms his love for Mary and Martha, but he doesn't hurry to get there. Okay, he's going to wait 2 more days. Why does he wait 2 days? Giving them time to mourn. Okay. 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 He knows what he's going to do, and he wants the maximum effect when he does it. I think that's pretty close to the right answer because, well, we'll get there. We'll have to talk about the Jewish belief in death, but we'll get there in a moment. But he intentionally waits 2 days to get the maximum effect to make sure everyone knows that Lazarus has passed. There's going to be no doubt by the time Jesus gets there. And yeah, that's a great point. So, we're going to find out that the Jews from Jerusalem come to Mary and Martha's house. Okay, so the word about Lazarus passing. This was a well-respected family. Okay, we know that for a lot of reasons, and probably had some wealth to them. For one, not everybody from Jerusalem would have traveled for Bethany every time somebody in Bethany died. Okay, but we're told many came from Jerusalem to mourn with them. We're going to read that in a few minutes. What are some other reasons we know that they had some wealth and probably respect? Yes, we're going in chapter 12. Mary's going to anoint Jesus with an expensive perfume. You remember, and so that's one other sign. The other sign is that Lazarus had a tomb. Not everybody had a tomb. Lazarus had his own tomb, so that took some wealth to have that as well. So, anyway, and it gives it gives us the idea and that Jesus knows exactly what's going to happen. Of course, we know that, but in the moment, he waits these 2 days, and his disciples are probably wondering, because most of the time when someone was sick, what did Jesus do? He immediately would go, right? He would kind of put everything else on hold, and he would go and try to help and try to minister. Not so in this case. So you probably, his disciples are probably wondering what's going on there, because they knew how much he loved Lazarus and Mary and Martha. Why is he delaying? So there's probably lots of questions in their mind coming up here as well. Okay. Yeah. They may be learning not to question him by this point, but yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing, keep in mind, yeah, and we're going to see this here in a minute. I keep saying we're going to get to it, but they may not have been too upset that they weren't going back to Jerusalem. Why? Yeah, they know that Jesus is in danger, and by association, they're in danger, right? And that's going to become, this is obviously on their mind. We'll see in a minute. But I don't know that they cared that much that they were being delayed, right? The disciples probably didn't at this point. Verse 7, then after this, he said to the disciples, let us go to Judea again. And the disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and are you going there again? Okay, here's the question. They don't really want to go, is the impression I get. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. Okay, so Jesus says, okay, it's time to go. And they go. And so they voice their concern here. You realize they're trying to kill you. And we're with you. So we're in danger as well. And Jesus' response is what? It's time to go. Jesus is on a timeline here, okay? And that's what he's saying is, are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees in the light. We need to do this now while the opportunity is good, okay? I have enough time, but I can't waste any time. Basically, is what he's, in my mind, is what he's saying. He said it's time for us to do this. Because this miracle is going to do what? In terms of the sequence of events. Yeah. He's going to become a bigger problem for the Pharisees and for the Jews there in Jerusalem. Okay, and so this event's going to try to kick that off. When you bring people out of the grave, that's going to get a lot of attention, and that's the last thing the Jews want. And so this kind of kicks off this sequence of events that leads to his crucifixion. And I think that's what he's alluding to here. Any other opinions on that? It's a little bit cryptic the way he says it, but basically saying it's time. It's time for me to do this. I don't have any time to waste. Okay. Verse 11. After saying these things, he said to them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover." Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he meant taking rest and sleep. And so Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus has died, and for your sake I'm glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." Okay, so Jesus says that he's asleep, referring to Lazarus being dead. The disciples don't understand that. They think he's getting sleep, and that's good because he's sick, and we heal when we sleep. And then he finally has to tell them plainly, Lazarus has already died, and he knows that before he even begins the journey to him. Okay, and he's 1 or 2 days away here. He makes this final thing that he says here: Lazarus has died, and for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. What does he mean by that? What is he referring to? What? Took away all doubt because he's good and dead. Okay. Okay. I think that's exactly what it is. And this is one of those moments where I think we get to see both the human and the divine side of Christ here. Jesus is, I think, thanking the Father, I'm glad I wasn't there, because my compassion for this family, my love for this family, I would have been tempted to heal him on the spot. You think that's fair? That's how he's feeling as a man, knowing how much he loved this family, right? But then the divine side of him knows, I'm glad I wasn't there so that God can be glorified, okay, and that I can work this miracle. And so you see almost this conflict between the human and the divine side within him. Jesus is wrestling with it, I think. Are y'all with me on that? Yeah. Yeah. He's continues to prepare them, and they're going to actually show quite a bit of weakness in those final hours, right? I mean, they desert him even after seeing everything firsthand, standing beside him. So he's continuing to prepare them, and this is one of the big lessons that he wants to leave with them, I think. And then finally, verse 16, so Thomas called the twins, said to his fellow disciples, let us go, that we may also die with him. That gives us a lot of insight into the mood of the group, right? They knew they're in mortal danger here. They were fearful for their lives. They knew exactly what the Jews were wanting to do to Jesus, and they knew by association they would do it to them as well, which, of course, they fled when it came to that moment. Right? Any other comments on that? Okay. Verse 17. Now, when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. Okay. Again, this speaks to this family's social standing in the larger community there at Jerusalem. They were held obviously in pretty high regard by all the Jews, because they would not have traveled that 2 miles out of the city in any numbers at all unless they had a lot of respect and love probably for Mary and Martha and Lazarus. So, and again, he's been in the tomb 4 days now by the time Jesus gets there. Okay. Verse 20. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Okay, so the word gets to Martha in the house, apparently, that Jesus is here. And so she rushes out to meet him. Probably has been waiting for him to get there. I just think she's just glad he's there, and she wants to meet him on his way in, and perhaps to have a private word with him too. We don't know exactly that, but she makes a statement there. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. It's almost has a tone of accusation to it. Do y'all get that from it? Lord, if you'd been here, he wouldn't have died. Why weren't you here? I sent word. You know? Huh? Okay. I think that's a great point. She's grieving. Okay? Have you ever been in a moment of distress and grief and maybe not had exactly the right words come to you? Barbara? Okay. Yeah. 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 They've went at any time when you're grieving, you're going to go through all the emotions, right? You're going to and all the thoughts and things just churn over in your mind. And she finally sees Jesus, and this is just the first words that come out of her mouth. Lord, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. You know that's what she's been thinking for these 4 days, right? But then she almost immediately tries to correct that, I think. But even now, I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Okay, she makes this statement, and I think she immediately says, "But I'm still believe you. I'm still a believer in you." Okay, she makes this statement of faith. Yeah, Greg. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I just think her heart's being pulled in all directions right here. She's in a lot of grief, and she says her first words. She says what she's actually feeling. Lord, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. I think she's been very honest about that. But then I think she probably understands that didn't sound quite right. You know, she don't want to accuse Jesus, obviously, and so she turns around and makes this statement of faith. Okay. One of the steps is you're going to experience some anger in it. Yeah, I think that's fair too. Oben. Okay. Yeah, and we're going to see he's grieving too, right? I mean, he loved Lazarus. We're told that. We'll see that in a moment. Um, yes.
One of the main questions most people ask during this time of grief is why? Why did this
Yeah.
happen? Why did you do this? Why?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is an untimely death. It wasn't like Lazarus was, you know, older and expecting to die. I mean, this was an illness that hit him out of the blue, I think, and so that's even makes it harder to understand when you know, someone that dies like that. I miss a hand. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it makes it. She says, but even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And you think, well, maybe she's thinking Lazarus will raise him again, but then Jesus says your brother will rise again, and she discounts that. She says, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. So I don't really know what she was expecting Jesus to ask of God here. I think it's pretty clear that in even verses later that they weren't expecting him to be risen from the dead. Okay, that's not what they were asking Jesus. I think their initial appeal to Jesus was to heal him, and then when he died, I'm not sure what they were expecting from him then. Maybe comfort. I don't know. Uh, I'm welcome to any ideas on that. You see the contradiction there a little bit? Yeah, she doesn't understand that Jesus is talking about raising him from the grave at this point. No, we wouldn't have. Now they did probably know that Jesus had raised people from the dead. That's already happened, right? But not 4 days dead. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Mike. Yeah. 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 He's hinting at it here, and he's going to make that statement definitively here in a moment. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he dies, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who's coming into the world. Okay. This is one of the famous I am statements, and maybe the most important of those statements, because he's declaring really the cornerstone. I am the resurrection and I am the life. He could have said that different ways. He could have said, I am going to resurrect, okay, and I have power to give life. But he says, I am the resurrection and I am the life. There's a difference there. What is that difference? Am I reading too much into that?
No. The difference is that he has the power of God.
Okay.
Because because actually he is God.
Right. This is another instance where we're seeing the divine side
Yes.
of him.
How much you think when God said, I'm the Alpha and the Omega? I mean,
Yeah. He's making this I am statement is a declaration of divinity. I am God. Okay. That I am is That's what's telling us that. Okay, but it's not. I am. I am means I'm not providing it. I am that. Okay, and that's a big difference that we need to appreciate. And so, as disciples, as members of His body, as part of Christ, if He's the resurrection, Mike, what are we? We are the resurrection, and we are the life. And that's important. It's not, and that's not someday out in the future. That's now. That's the way we get to live every day. With that hope of resurrection, that changes everything. If we know we're going to be resurrected, and we know we're going to live forever with Him. That's the difference. It's not that we get to, He's going to give that to us at some point in the future, although He will. It happens in the future. We get to live now with that assurance and that promise. And that's a game changer. Is it not? Are you with me on that?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Well, and think about your perspective. It immediately shifts your perspective on how we view this life. Right? We look at it different than the rest of the world does. We know we've got eternity to look forward to. Most people don't. Open?
In Christ, God, through the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that life is that indwelling of the Holy Spirit. That He, yeah, I mean, this is not a promise in the future. This is what we have now. And I think so often we forget that. We forget who we are and how special we are and what we've been given now. Not later, here, now. Yeah, Mike.
Like I said, we have it now, but we can easily throw it away if we don't stay in tune.
Yeah.
with the Spirit.
Yeah. We can walk away from that life and walk away from that resurrection.
That's why I think it's better for you never to know than to know when it's fall back.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bad day.
Yeah. I just don't know that we fully appreciate, and I don't know that we make the daily decisions in our life with that realization. And we need to understand that that's who we are now. Okay? We are the people that have that life, and we are the people that have that promise of that resurrection. Okay? It changes the way we look at everything. Yeah, Greg?
Greg, I think that when things are going good, we kind of tend to forget that God's on our side because everything's going good.
Yeah.
But when things start going south, then we start questioning, why did this happen? Why did that happen? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So we got to be real careful about getting comfortable when things are going good. That's when things are going good. We need to thank God for the things going good. When we go through our trials and tribulations, we still need to thank God, because to me, that's where my faith grows, is if I stay faithful through those trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Do I always? No. But every night I thank God for my family. First of all, I list my family out by name every night and thank God for that. And then I thank God for helping me to get through this day, because we have to realize that no matter what happened through that day, we had some trials and tribulations. Did we overcome them?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just.
Well, you know, we say this so often that it almost has become cliche, and we don't fully appreciate it, and sometimes we don't hear it. I think it just goes. That's why living with this kind of perspective, the only way we can do that is if we pray, like you said, and if we study and read the Word, and if we come to church and spend time with one another, so we can remind each other that this is the life that we've promised. Okay? This is the perspective that we have to live a faithful life. And so all those things are elementary, and we say them a lot, and a lot of times it seems like we say them and we don't pay a lot of attention to them, but they are critical to keeping that perspective in our day-to-day walk. Okay?
And I'm gonna add to that. because so many times I go through trials and tribulations during the night, during the day, that old Satan works on me. And I know he does every one of us, because sometimes when you get ready to pray that night, you're thinking, what good's it going to do me? I really messed up today.
Yeah.
And you've got to overcome that, because no matter what you've done in secret or in the eyes of other people, no matter what you've done, you have to talk to God. You
Yeah.
have to overcome that, because whether you think God hears you or not, you've got to have that hope and that faith that he's listening, which, and I believe he is listening.
Yeah.
After my trials and
Well,
tribulations.
I just think it's impossible to. Yes. But I just think it's impossible for us to walk and live the way he wants us to if we're not showing up here but once a week, and we haven't been in the Word during the week, and we haven't prayed during the week, and we haven't talked to anybody in our family here during the week. And if you're living that way, and a lot of people are, you're starving to death. Literally, you're going to starve to death. You cannot live the Christian life with a proper perspective without those things in your life. I'm convinced of that. I've seen it in my own life. When I lack in those skills, that's when I fall away and drift away. And so it's just so critical that this time together, but also your personal time in the Word and in prayer. And I know we say it a lot, but it's vital. It's vital to our survival in this world as Christians. Okay, we got to move on. I got 5 minutes, and we're hadn't got him out of the grave yet. 28. When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here, and he is calling for you." And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. And when the Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to go to the tomb and weep there. So Martha goes back, tells Mary, she does basically the same thing, goes out to meet Jesus. There's people in the house, and this was the custom. They're grieving with her, okay, and consoling her, but also grieving with her. Verse 28, when she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher's here." I just read that, sorry. I had it doubled up. Verse 32. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here," again, the same thing. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." And Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, Could not he have opened the eyes of the blind man and also have kept this man from dying? Okay. There's a lot there. I'm going to have to edit here a little bit. I want to talk about when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. The word used there is one of, literally means the angry snort of a horse. You ever heard that? The horse going into war, or a horse that's rebelling against its handler, just a big blow or a whinny. That's the word that's used here, an angry snort by a horse. And so what it's talking about here with Jesus is not a griefful, sad, mournful feeling. What this is he is moved by anger. One scholar even went so far, if you make the mistake of thinking it's grief and sorrow here, you've got it completely wrong. He is angry at what he is witnessing. Why is he angry? What? Lack of faith? Maybe. I don't think that's it completely. Is this the way it's supposed to be? People dying, and mourning as the creator of life. I am the resurrection and I am the life. All things were made through me and for me. I spoke it into existence. And here this man has died and these people are grieving. It's not the way it was supposed to be, and this makes him angry, I think. This moves him, the divine side of him. The toll that death has had on this world, on this family in particular in this moment. Okay? But this is not the way it was supposed to be. And Jesus, as a man and as a God, is witnessing this, and it makes him angry. Sure, I'm sure he's sorrowful, and I'm sure he's grieving in his own way, but he, as the creator, to have to witness death and the hurt that these people are experiencing because of it, it angers him. It's more anger than sadness. Are you with me on that? Yeah, Owen?
Don't we all anger from abuse?
Yeah, and I mean, he's all of this is coming on Jesus in this moment. Okay, he's on his final walk to the cross to pay the toll for the sin that's been reaped on this world. I'm sure that's weighing on him, okay, emotionally. And he comes, and his friend has died. These women that he loves are weeping and sorrowful, and it's all because of sin and all because of death. And it's not the way he designed it to be. And so he reacts with anger. And then finally, yes.
Are you saying he's angry because death happens, or he's angry at the people for mourning?
No, I don't think he's angry at the people. I think he's with the people. I think he's angry because people have to die. The world's broken. I think this is more of a universal reaction to everything he's witnessed. I mean, this really comes home for Jesus in the death of his friend, and it's all because of sin entered the world and wrecked his design in his creation. Does that make sense? I don't think he's angry at the people for mourning. I think he's probably sympathetic to that. And I think in these situations, all those emotions are probably affecting him, but the word used here is more closely related to one of an anger response. Yeah, Mike.
Maybe he's just grieving because mad because he realized it didn't have to be like this. That sin messed everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Punishment of sin is death.
Talks about how the last enemy to be overcome is death.
The last enemy to be overcome is death.
So it's a very serious thing.
Yeah.
His mind, what he's doing is to overcome death.
Yeah. And perhaps in this moment, we're seeing both the divine and the human side. I think he's probably grieving. His heart is broken as a friend and as a man, but as a God, he's really upset because of what he's witnessing here. Okay? And sin is still winning right now. I mean, death is still winning right now, and sin for that matter. Okay, let's get him out of the tomb. Then Jesus, deeply moved again, come to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." And Martha and his sister of the dead man said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." Again, they weren't expecting the resurrection, I don't think, at any point here, for him to be brought from the dead. And Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" And so they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I say this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the man who had died came out, his hands and his feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped in cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Okay. Again, we're seeing both the human and the divine. Here, the divine in that command, Lazarus, come out. You've probably heard this before, but I think it was a country preacher probably that started it. He said he had to call him by name, otherwise they all would have come out of the grave. He's speaking with such force here. But he calls Lazarus by name, and Lazarus, of course, leaves the tomb. Again, I got just a minute or two. 4 days is important because the Jews believed at 3 days the spirit actually left. They believed the spirit stayed with the body for 3 days. After the third day, they left the body and went into the netherworld. Okay, 4 days was important here because there was no doubt to anybody that Lazarus was dead, good and dead. They could not be questioned, and that's why this miracle is so important, okay? And so critical in the timeline here because the word is going to go explode from here about Jesus in the surrounding areas, all right? I rushed through all that last part, but I think we got the important parts. Thank y'all.